let's get started with a quick introduction from the team.
Hi, I'm Hannah, and this is my fourth year in DECA, and I'm the Director of Logistics.
Hi, I'm Laura. This is my second year in DECA, and I'm the Director of Content.
Hi, I'm Isha. This is my second year in DECA, and I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing.
Hi, I'm Noah. This is my second year in DECA, and I'm the Director of Communication.
Hi, I'm Nathan. This is my third year in DECA, and I'm the co-director of finance and fundraising.
Hi, I'm Ines. This is my second year in DECA, and I'm also the co-director of finance.
Perfect. So now that we've gone ahead and introduced ourselves to you guys, just to head into a different direction here, one of the biggest things about our podcast is the fact that we all have competed in some sort of written event for DECA. And so I just want to go ahead and begin with a couple speed questions in terms of why we all chose a written event, and then some just general business tips in order to how to curate the best one. So can you guys just elaborate on why you guys chose to do a written event?
Well, I chose to do an event because I was trying to play to my strengths, and the other option was doing role plays where you had to have like a conversation with the other person, and I was bad at that. So I didn't want to do that. And so I wanted to do a business plan because I knew that I could spend as much time as I wanted writing a business plan, and I knew that I could spend as much time as I needed to preparing a presentation for that. So I was trying to play to my strengths, and even though I knew that it was going to be more difficult to a certain extent, for me it would be easier, and I knew that that was the best way to go for me.
Yeah, that's really good. I feel like for me, it's just about like getting knowledge in whatever way you can. So in sophomore year, I did a role play. So junior year, I kind of wanted to like switch things up and then try out the clothing business plan for once. And actually turned out pretty great.
Yeah, I'd agree. My freshman year, I did a role play, and then my sophomore year, I did a role play and a written, and I wanted to be able to elaborate more than just my 10 minutes with that judge. I enjoyed being able to expand on each topic and try something new.
I'm kind of with Laura. I'm really bad at speaking on the spot, so there's no way I could have done a role play. So I chose a written event just because I knew I could have enough time to prepare myself to be, like ready.
Yeah, and I feel like business plans, you kind of learn skills that are more transferable to like the real business world, because like role plays, that's great for like learning how to talk to people, but like that's not going to be your everyday life. Chances are you're going to spend a lot of time writing down your thoughts, writing a thorough business plan, and that's something that I know that I need to do if I want to have like an actual career in the business world. So I think that's really useful for why someone should do a written plan. So.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same for me. I just really liked being able to control the outcome versus with a role play, you go and you never know what's going to happen. And with a written, you can control every single aspect of it, and you can make everything, you can hone it all to perfection.
I agree. With the written project, it's very research and content heavy, but it takes time, but it's also very rewarding and satisfying to see that final product in your hands. You just see it, you're satisfied with it, and I think that's what really makes me want to do it.
There's also that presentation after you write it. So you still get that one-on-one. So to kind of just show off what you know about your project and how you're kind of like the expert on what you know. So I think that's also a key part to it.
Yeah, that interview with the judge right after. Yeah, that's like a kind of like a mini role play, but like you're more informed about what you're doing.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's pretty much alongside everything you guys said, and I think Isha, you really described it well. I'm a huge fan of controlling everything I can control, and so heading into your presentation, understanding exactly what I'm going to present and what the metrics are, going down that route is a lot more fun for me than being thrown into more of a role play situation, given 10 to 30 minutes to do a prompt and then go ahead and move forward with that. So I guess just touching upon that really quickly, is there anything specifically that you guys think both small business owners as well as DECA students learn specifically from doing just a business plan in general?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like just the process of it, like you hear in English class, there's a term called metacognitive thinking. And it basically means that you think about your own process, how you go from one place to the other, how you make a decision. And when you think about that, when you're doing your research, when you're figuring out what your idea is, you really have to know how you got from where you are to where you want, how you go from where you are to where you want to be. And that's the important part of it, I guess. And other people can also elaborate on that for sure.
Yeah, I think along with that, another really important part is that you really learn how to analyze things, you learn how to take your business idea and look at it objectively, without that lens of like, this is my idea, I'm super, super attached to it, and sort of objectively sort of figure out what those finances are, whether you're going to be profitable, and look at your market and your competition and say, is this idea viable? And looking through that lens and being able to analyze something without those emotions sort of hindering your way is also, I feel like, a really important part of a business plan.
Yeah, and it becomes more than just an idea. It's written in front of you, and it's more than just an idea that you wish you could accomplish one day.
Yeah, to elaborate on that, I feel like as you develop your idea from marketing to your target market to your financials, all the stuff like that, you kind of just start to realize whether your idea is viable, whether it's actually doable. And that's really cool about the business plan idea.
Yeah, and I think that like adding on to like what skills we learn, it's like when you first get a business plan, you're like basically thrown into the water. Like you read all of these things, it doesn't make any sense to you. It's super long. There's so many complicated components that you were never taught, using vocabulary that you never learned. And as you go through it step by step, you have to force yourself to learn what those things are. And you know, at first you're kind of struggling, but like once you get there, it's so much easier. And that's like kind of exercising like your muscle. Like you're learning how to not just think on your feet, but like be creative and be able to teach yourself things, because you know there's not always going to be someone like trying to help you out. So it taught me to like research things by myself, and I learned a lot doing a business plan, not even just learning from a class, but literally just forcing myself to sit down and make a business plan.
Yeah, that jargon that you'll just have in your back pocket of, oh, now I can talk about certain vocabulary pieces that I learned from that too.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a huge part. I know for me, one of the biggest things that I learned, or really why I wanted to immerse within the business plan, was understanding holistically what went into a business. I think when you take a look at role plays, it's just concentrations of business, right? You go from hospitality to food service, but when you take a look at specific things within a business plan, you have the chance to just curate everything that goes into it. So understanding financial services, understanding what you need to do to deploy that program, but then also on the flip side of that, how are you marketing it, right? So now you have the chance to really learn everything and then take those skills and level up in other aspects of your life as well.
Yeah, like you said, like in role plays, you can like have an idea. You don't need any like evidence to support it. But in written plans, you have an idea and it's bad. It's going to show in like your statistics. It's going to show in like your evidence. Like you have to make sure that everything is supported. And that's super important in business. But I feel like a lot of people ignore that in favor of like marketing and like good ideas. But no, you need to back that up like fiscally. You need to have evidence for that. And I think a business plan really forces you to think about business with that lens.
I guess can one of you guys just go ahead and walk me through what a day in the life of a regional conference looked like for you, I guess in terms of presenting to judges, or how that overall process went?
Pretty quick. So it was really unique for me because I started in November with a partner, but we kind of got into an argument and then things happened. And so I decided to kind of just move on myself. But it wasn't like it wasn't bad or it wasn't good or anything. It was just the process, it was just what happened. But going into the competition, like it was really about how I can handle it myself, you know, because I had all the expectations coming in that I was going to have a partner with me, just like how I used to do team role plays. And now that I have to present a whole 20-page paper plan by myself, it's a really big deal. And it really made me realize sometimes self-reliance is really important.
Yeah. I guess in terms of my overall process, I've done it alongside two of my best friends from high school. So it's been, some sort of already knowing what the process looks like. But I think the overall atmosphere of DECA, from getting off the bus to walking into the Maiden Bauer Center over in Bellevue, it's all, that's what really makes the experience for me. And I think that's one of the best things possible.
I was just saying that, yeah, definitely. And it just like puts you into a business environment that you've never been in before, because you're with literal adults who are wearing suits. And like, I kind of had like imposter syndrome because I was wearing a suit and I was like, I feel like a conductor. I don't feel like a business person. I shouldn't be here. And like teaching yourself that like, no, I have good ideas, maybe kind of, please listen to me, instead of like, and like having confidence in your own business plan is really difficult actually. And so it really teaches you those skills throughout the competition.
Yeah, I know. I still remember the first time I went in and presented. All my partners and I were we were worried, right? Because this was our first time going ahead and presenting. But I think the biggest thing that just any business landscape teaches you is how to overcome some of that intrinsic fear that you have when you head into that presentation room. And it's never as bad as people say it is. Like after you finish off the DECA event, I think, at least for my group, we we had some sense of accomplishment after finishing off our first year, and we knew what we needed to do in order to improve within the following year. So I think that was definitely something that was huge, is just getting yourself out there within the first couple of years and really understanding how to make the best presentation, because not everybody's going to go to state or ICDC their initial year, or even on the small business side, it's not, the initial plan isn't going to be the best plan. So understanding that iterations and many forms of feedback and receival need to happen before you can actually go ahead and execute with the business plan that's going to be right for you.
Yeah, trial and error is super important.
Yeah, I agree. And especially when you're presenting in front of in front of the judge, and then around you there's so many people, there's no sense of familiarization. There's kind of this feeling of the unknown, and I feel like that's what really makes it fun. You don't know how you're going to do or who's around you. You just focus on your presentation and hope for the best.
What I really liked is like that just that sense of satisfaction once you finish. Because I don't know about you guys, but I totally forgot to memorize my presentation with my partner. But we were in the same hotel room together, so we almost pulled an all-nighter memorizing our presentation, right? And so our presentation was the first thing in the morning. So when we went, we were like zonked, dude. So then we presented, and then we finished, and like it just felt really good, like knowing that all that hard work paid off. So yeah, I just really like that.
Yeah, even if you don't qualify for it, maybe I'm just bitter because I didn't qualify, but even if you don't qualify for ICDC or anything, it's just like you learn. Like I always had this thing where when I was doing the business plan, like, what's the point if I'm not even going to ICDC? Like, what's the point of doing all this work for like what? And then I'm like, it's so that next year you know what you're doing, and then maybe then you'll actually go to ICDC. So it's a learning experience too, not just about winning. I'll tell myself that.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about that too, because last year I did my business plan at Win State, and then I wanted a place like everyone else who all wanted to win to ICDC, but I didn't, But so initially I was like, oh shoot, like what am I going to do? Like Laura said, right? But then I thought about how much I did, how much time I put in to write the 20-page business plan and did a presentation around it without, biasing it, because I actually had to do my research on the information that I was presenting. And that was just that felt like a really good experience. And then the funny thing is, on the way home, my advisor called me and he said, Nathan, you actually placed first in paper score. So you actually got 8th place. So basically like the top 7 advances to nationals, but I got 8th. So at the end, at least I knew I already learned, and it was just such a great experience overall.
Yeah. Just a couple of things I want to touch upon. So the first, Noah's comment, just some quick advice to all small businesses and all Decies out there. That's not something you want to do, right? You don't want to stay and wait up all night in order to finish off your.
Come for us like that, Zane.
I mean.
And then I think Laura had a really good point in terms of just understanding the process. I think that's been one of the hardest things for me to do within the DECA experience is it does take time, and business isn't something that anybody learns within their first year. So understanding that mindset of going back over and over and over again and seeking, the same feedback from your advisors and taking a look at the judge sheet as well. I think that's one of the biggest things that helped us was understanding how descriptive it was, because after we didn't qualify the initial year, it was okay, what can we do to make it better the second year? So Nathan, just a couple questions for you really quickly, just because I know you have your own clothing brand and your own business. So when you were going through and writing that business plan, can you just talk me through a bit of that strategy that went in and what the overall end goal was? Did you have an end goal when you were creating the business plan, or how did that process go?
Yeah. So my idea was around a eco-friendly clothing brand, basically using this company called Avenue, and they have this technology that regenerates fiber, so making it textile that can be recycled again and again and again, because like the clothing industry is such a big like environmental waste and such a huge issue in the world right now. So I actually found that out when I was talking to my mom. I was like, we were at dinner. We were like, Mom, like, what am I going to write for my business plan? What is my idea? And then she just gave me a lot of examples, and I just found that really interesting to think about how textiles can be recycled and could be made into like an eco-friendly clothing brand. So that's how I got the idea started. But then as I kind of discussed with my partner, I started to reach out to the people who have the necessary knowledge in it, including the company I wanted to work with. And to be honest, there wasn't like a systematic approach to how I approached the business plan, and everything just felt like it got put together. And it's honestly not a hard process because DECA lays it out perfectly for you. It tells you, I forgot which one comes first, but it tells you when to go find the customer segment. The next one is going to be unique value proposition, and then the revenue stream, stuff like that. So it makes it really clear what you need to do first and what you need to do next. So I think the fact that the layout, the content is already there makes it really easy for you to actually do the research, have the motivation to do the research.
Yeah, and I guess when you decided to go ahead and transfer your idea to something that was more tangible, right? And something that you've been working on for the past couple months, did you
Yeah.
go back and reflect on the business plan, or did you create a new plan to actually go ahead and move forward with, since the CSUP and your original idea differentiated a little?
Yeah. I didn't look back at the business plan at all, but now that I think about it, it's a foundation of what I have right now, because without it, I wouldn't be able to think that my idea would even be possible to do. And I think that running that business plan laid a foundation of like, oh, I will always have this idea in my mind, and whether I want to do it is up to me. And I did take the opportunity. I did make it happen over the summer. So I think that's a big accomplishment for me. And then it does not really matter, how much money you can make, stuff like that. It's just about if you have an idea and whether you can, take the opportunity to do it.
So Nathan, can you just walk me through what your favorite part of the business plan was, just when you're going throughout everything? Was there something specific that you learned, or something that you were fascinated by?
Yeah, something I really learned was about the idea. It's like, why do you have this idea? And I had the idea because first of all, like I had to identify the problem, of course. So the problem was the environmental waste textile creates. And so the solution was to use this company's technology that can regenerate fiber that can be recycled again and again, again and again. And so once you really figure that out, you have a direction, like you have a mission. And although that's not what my current clothing brand is about, like that's my goal in order to make it eco-friendly and to actually connect with that company. So yeah.
Yeah. Was there one specific part that was harder for you than anything else? Like I know mine for sure was the executive summary. That was the hardest thing by far. I could not get that down because it was, how am I supposed to summarize my entire business plan within one page?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that's the most important part. But for me, the toughest was the last one I was doing was the financials for sure. I didn't know, I feel like this is going to be a lot of people's problem, and I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to address it in our podcast too. And it's the fact that you don't have a number, you don't really know what to estimate, it's super tough, super tough, super tough. So I think I talked to my advisors, talked to people who did the business plan for a long time. So that's why I think as we start to bring in people who are like industry professionals in the finance industry, we'll be able to really figure out how to tackle the financial part of the business plan.
Yeah, no, financials are a huge one. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I think financials and the executive summary were both the hardest ones, but also, symmetrically, they're also the most important ones as well, right? When you take a look at the executive summary, there are a lot of things that go within that, and that's just the overall outline of the presentation. And so one of the biggest things I would say for small business owners is just understand and try to minimize as much as possible, right? Because you can elaborate on things within the presentation or within the document, but when you're on that executive summary, it's how can I make put everything there within the most succinct manner, so people can just read through that, and it's a lot more easily digestible too, right? You don't want to have multiple things going on, because then they're not going to be able to understand that. And then in terms of financials, like you said, Nathan, it's hard to estimate cost margins and understand overall revenue streams when you're sort of a pre-sale company, right? You haven't made any money, you have no metrics to go off of. So I think that's definitely the hardest part. My favorite part, I think, at the entire thing was two different sections here. One was customer segments and understanding a bit more about marketing channels, because marketing was this huge thing for me. Really, really interested in it, but I didn't really know too much about it when I first started, and so it was just a huge, huge growth opportunity. It just got into so much research, and I would go down into nerdy marketing rabbit holes and just understand a bit more about specific things that they do. And so I think that's just really, really helpful to go ahead and learn from other people. HubSpot was a huge resource that I used, and Valor Marketing is another one. So I definitely would check out those two resources. And then one more, I think for me was key metrics, and really understanding metric interpretation and all of these numbers that you've generated now. How are you supposed to put those into play now? So I think those were the two biggest things for me. Perfect. So just moving forward here, we just want to take a moment to just discuss how we plan to help you guys out within your written event. So, going from executive summary all the way down to the appendix, we want to make sure that we really do go over all of the steps that are needed, both from the business standpoint with small businesses and curating the best business plan there, but then also with the DECA side as well.
Yeah, I think, well, two things to address. First of all, what we're doing is we want to go like in order. So like right now, you're probably just starting out with your idea. You're kind of starting with market research. That's going to be the first things we talk about: market research, unique value proposition. And then later in the year, we're kind of going to go in the order as the paper goes. Well, later, then we'll talk about financials. Right at the very end, when you're supposed to write your executive summary, we'll talk about it. And then we can go into formatting towards the very end. So we're trying to follow you through this journey to make sure that you have the best support possible through every single step. And then what we're also doing is that in each episode, we'll be sitting down with not just a DECA student, because we can give each other advice, but also we're talking to industry professionals, people who already have small businesses, who've written business plans, who know how to do each thing. And so that way you get two different perspectives that will hopefully unify to create one really solid piece of, like, we can be a really solid resource for you in terms of each part.
Yeah, and also just for those of you who have already at least written one business plan, like you written for a reason, like I written my clothing brand for a reason, and I was pretty lucky and ended up starting it. So we really hope that we can make you have the idea of exactly how you're going to start it in this podcast.
Yeah, adding on to what Laura said, what we really want to be is we want to be a resource for you guys, just so like anytime you need help, you can just use us as a resource, and just to ensure that you level up.
Yeah, and like we all did written events. Like some of us maybe didn't have like advisors who necessarily specialized too much in written events, so like they couldn't give us like as much advice as we wanted, or maybe we just didn't know where to look. Like I know some people have like little like Google Drives within like their like school and stuff where they like share info. Like we want to level the playing field to make sure that everyone has an equal shot. So if you want to have an equal shot, then you should listen to us, because what we're trying to do is provide a resource to literally everyone.
Perfect. Yeah. Last thing I just want to touch upon there is just, for small businesses and the DECA community, like there are so many different things that are out there, but it's really about legitimizing the resources that you're going ahead and taking a look at it. So everything that we do here, we want to ensure that we're putting up the best content for you guys, and we're making this the best resource possible. And so that's why bringing in industry professionals, people that specialize within specific things. So financial consultants, for example, when we're going over the finances, just really digging into specific things that you can get the most value, right? That's why we're here for. It's not just to just provide an overview, but really diving into specific topics. So we don't want to take too much of your time. This is the end of our first episode. Thank you to everyone who listened in. We are really, really excited to launch the Level Up podcast, and we look forward to sharing everything we know about written events, teen entrepreneurship, and small businesses with the overall business community. We hope to see you next week, where we will be going into the specifics of market research and how to turn that into your unique value proposition. Thanks again, and we can't wait to compete in DECA this upcoming season with you. Take a moment to follow us at Level Up Podcast _ for updates, and find weekly episodes on all platforms alongside the BD Media Local and their Facebook page as well. We hope to see you guys next week, where we will be going over the specifics of how to choose your written event. Thanks again, and we can't wait to compete in DECA this upcoming season. Bye, Decies and small business ownies.